Hi guys, it's Allie with Chaos Monkey again, and I just wanted to show you the Mary Maxim project I just finished, which was the toddler blanket from the December Mary Maxim knit kit. So I'm sorry my lighting is not the best, but it's okay. So this is the bind off edge down here. And as you can see, I tried to go fairly kind of tight, loose bind off, just to kind of get it to be able to keep the shape because of this lace. So when you have it down, you can see that it's kind of doing the whole shell thing down here. Sorry, you can kind of see almost that I did the Russian bind off mixed with a regular bind off, so you can kind of see it a little bit here and there. But as the yarn settles down, you probably won't notice it anymore. Just, it has a little bit of a thicker bump here and there on the bind off. But I wanted to give it a little stretch just in case it needed some. I didn't want to bind, since the beginning edge right here is so stretchy, because you basically do your cast on and then just start a lace. I wanted to make sure that the other edge was just as stretchy. If I'd done a regular bind off, it might have been a little too tight. So that's the only reason I did that. And then as you can see, I did all the colors in order, just like the pattern. So it's pretty decent sized. Let me get my measuring tape. I had it here, but I think the cat got it. Hold on. Okay, so I'll try to give it a side-to-side measure, but this is really stretchy. So this is just going to be with it kind of laying without any stretch on it. Just to kind of give you an idea that I got about 41 inches without stretching it across. And for the length, let me fold it, whoops. Let me fold it this way and give you an idea here. And again, this is kind of like from the point not stretched out to another point on the side here. And I think this is really rough too. This is coming out at 41, 42 in length, so it is rectangular, so it's a little longer than it is wide. Also, I'm not measuring it on a good surface. That's very level. Let me try here. Yeah, it's looking about 42, not stretched out. If you stretch it out, you'll get it much longer, but that's just relaxed. So, because if you notice, I can stretch it quite a bit. And I think the pattern, let me see here, it's at 35 to 37 finished. So mine's a little bit bigger than that. My gauge might have been a little different than theirs. I didn't really do a gauge swatch because it is a blanket, and I knew I was getting pretty close because I like the fabric. So I like the lace, and the garter was tight enough. And I think I used a size, what did I use? I usually write it down. Oh, I was using a 9. So I used what they asked for. And so my gauge might have been a little bit bigger than theirs, so it's a little bit bigger of a blanket. So it's a good size. I followed the pattern exactly. There were no problems with the pattern. It was written well, no errors that I saw. And it's really squishy and comfortable. It's the only thing I don't like about the yarn is it is splitty. And it does like to kind of untwist on itself if you're not careful. So you'll see, I don't know if I can find any here, but it's made up of a lot of plies, as you can see here. If you look at the gray, you can see it kind of untwisting in this middle part of it. But when it untwists enough, even while you're working on it, you'll get these, you'll get this, where it's just unplying in the middle of whatever you're working on. It's not gonna, there, it doesn't like to focus that close. So sometimes you'll catch one of these little loops in the middle of your knitting and not notice because you caught the majority. But then you'd catch it on the next row, but you'll see like here, you'll still get this. Like I didn't miss a loop, but this loop got a little stretched out. So it sticks out. So sometimes you'll get some of these, and sometimes these will snap, and that's a problem. I imagine over time the whole blanket would slowly unravel if that kept happening. That just got pulled. I pulled that by accident. But there's a couple of those in there with this one little loop sticking out. There was a couple of breaks. And I was really worried about weaving in the ends because it is a slippery yarn that does that. So I wove in the ends like really, really, really good. But I'm not sure if it would hold up to which side did I do it? This side. I'm not sure that my ends, this is the end, you can see the lumps where I had to weave in and kind of really go in through the same area over and over to kind of lock it on itself. I'm not sure if it would go through a machine wash. So, I don't know, I might just, if I do give it to someone, might say hand wash it, but this is a really big blanket, so I don't think I'd tell them that. I'd say, you can see a little one right there from when I did my bind off. See these little things? I'm always worried that all of these are going to pop out no matter how well I wove them in, that it will slowly pop out. So I tell them to wash it in the machine, but on gentle. And who knows, maybe if it goes through a drying cycle, maybe it'll kind of lock these in, you know, for all the edges. That's the only thing I worry about with this yarn. And this is the second blanket that they sent this yarn for. The other one was all cream in this color. And I was worried about it then too because, again, I haven't tested these. So if anybody's run it through the wash when you're finished, let me know how it held up for you with those ends, because it really kind of spooks me. Because I really like the yarn. It's super soft, but there is some downsides, and at least it won't pill according to the label, which is good. I'm just worried that it might kind of unravel the ends over time, or kind of get, I don't know. I think it'll be fine. It's just really, but for an acrylic, it is so soft and it's just so stretchy. So if it doesn't fall apart in the wash and the ends are able to stay woven in really, really strong, so you can see what it did with the green here too. See how when it just kind of does its own thing, it likes to unravel when there's no tension at all. It falls apart very easily. So, and it's pretty slick, but I'm hoping it'll be fine. I won't hem and haw over it too much. But when I do give it to somebody, I'll say, you know, just wash it on gentle and dry on low, or whatever the instructions are. I'll keep one of the ball bands for the washing instructions. I think it's here. Machine wash and dryable. Wash using gentle, delicate cycle for 2 minutes. Tumble dry using low heat for a maximum of 5 minutes. So it is a very remove and lay flat to dry. So they're even doing it as like a half wash, half lay flat to dry. So they don't even want this stuff in the dryer for very long. So it's not your Red Heart by any means. So it's already got I'll keep the care instructions. So if I give it to somebody, they'll just wash it gently and hopefully there won't be a problem. And then I just wanted to show you my leftovers. So in the gray, I had that much. In the green, I remember my gauge was a little bigger, so I had plenty. That's another reason I wasn't worried. My green feels like I had even more left, which is weird because we use the exact same amount of yarn in all of these stripes. They're all equal. And my blue feels pretty thick. So my green and blue feel about equal. My gray feels a little less. So I'm sure they all have the same weight. I didn't weigh them before or after though, so I couldn't give you a good guesstimate. And then this is all I had left of the white. And that was out of, how many balls? Was it 4 balls? 4 balls of the white. So even with my little bit of a bigger gauge and getting a few more inches, I still had plenty for the bind off and all of that. It's not very much, but I didn't have to play yarn chicken. I was pretty confident at that point. So if you have a bigger gauge than me, or you're a very loose knitter, definitely do a gauge swatch because you'll be cutting it close. Because I'm a tight knitter, and I got a pretty big gauge in this springy yarn, so just be careful. If you're a loose knitter, you want to do a gauge to make sure you don't run out. So, okay, that's all I had to say. I will try to put a picture in it of it, the whole thing showing, but it was fun. I just did get finished with it. It does take me a while. I don't work on it nonstop though either. You know me, I do a lot of other projects in between, so for me this took me from the time we got it in December until yesterday to finish it, because I wanted it finished before I got the new kit. And of course, like I showed you guys in my unboxing, yeah, we got another another similar thing to do. So I am going to go ahead and try to take some pictures of this, but like I said, the pattern was fine. There was no issues. It was really simple repeat once you got it down, and I used the needle size they suggested, and hopefully with their washing instructions, the yarn won't have an issue, but I did really weave the ends in. I went through a couple of times, and then I went through where I went through, like, into the yarn itself, and tried to split through the plies and go in through like I would kind of make like a lump, and then go through that lump a lot, but not make it so it's super, you can't feel it when you touch the blanket, where I did the lumpy parts, because I stretched it out as I went, but I really wanted it, well, you can feel little ones, like this one I put both through this one, both these ends, so you can kind of see a lump. But I really wanted to lock it in for sure on this slippery yarn, because I remember I kind of got traumatized by Karen's Simply Soft, and I made a blanket out of that once per the pattern. The pattern requested it. It was one of their patterns, and came completely apart. Just not even put it through the wash. It just came apart, and I had to go in and re-knot and re-put all the ends in, and it still came apart. And then I put in some of that stuff that glues the fibers in, but it leaves a crusty mark, but I was like putting like really tiny dots trying to glue the fiber together because I could not keep that blanket together. It was made in granny squares and seamed, and all the seams were slipping out, all the ends I wove in and the color changes were slipping out. So of course keep in mind that was one of the first Afghans I made with granny squares, but still with that slippery yarn, no matter how well, even when I went to correct it and I went ballistic in weaving them in as tight as I could and back and forth and splitting yarns, and it still fell apart. So I'm a little scared of slippery yarns and yarns that look like they might slip out in the wash, but this one will probably be fine. So that's the only reason I kind of make a fuss about it, because I'm like, oh, one wash and it's going to go. So I've just had, I've had trauma in the past with slippery yarn. So, alright you guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.